Welcome back to Close Encounters of the Tech Kind. I'm John. We're going to have a fantastic conversation this week. We've got a number of subjects we're going to talk about, and to fulfill a comment from one of our last episodes, we're going to talk Homelabs. Stay tuned to the second half of this. Homelabs is where our hearts and minds live when we're not having to work for paying for the Homelabs. So the hobby that turns into a profession that pays for the hobby. I'm not sure where that Ouroboros ends, but you have fun doing it anyways, right? We're going to talk a little bit about, and dare I say it, AI again. And we're going to talk about how this is going to be the year of AI figuring out what it even is. Nobody knows what it is. It's a solution without a problem. We're trying to figure out what the problem is. So that's a great one. Special shout out to everybody that hit the like button on the last episode. Looking at the ratio, our likes to views was almost 1-for-1 for a long time. It's starting to creep up. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube's algorithm, but I'll ask again. If you're watching this, you made it this far, please hit that like button. I want to see the likes outpace the views. I think we can do it. So thank you, everybody. But let me introduce you to the team. First off, Mike, how you doing?
Yes, doing good.
Jackson?
How's it going? Here, ready to party.
Party. It wouldn't be a party without Artie. Sorry, had to rhyme it.
Oh,
Haha.
that was good.
Yeah, I'm going
Artie,
now.
how you doing?
He's leaving now. Oh, party's over, I guess.
Now we'll have to have the after party.
After party or after Artie?
Oh, well, we'll do the party, and we'll have to compare notes, and then yeah. But yeah, so vibe coding. That's an interesting subject. First off, I want to read you a joke. This is going to segue into things. I want to get your reaction. I haven't shared this with anybody because I want to get genuine reactions. So we know RAM. RAM was this thing that used to be something you could buy. Now it's like, bars of gold are cheaper. So this joke is the reason RAM prices went up 4 times is a massive amount of not yet manufactured memory was bought with money that doesn't really exist to be put into GPUs that haven't been made yet, to be installed in data centers that haven't been built, powered by infrastructure that may never exist, to satisfy demand that isn't actually there, in order to generate profits that are mathematically impossible.
You sure that was a joke? That sounded like a lot of truth to me.
This is my reality right now. Is this real?
It feels like a joke that we're having to suffer through to get to the punchline. I just don't know if we can all make it. We got to buy computers.
It's so true though. It's kind of weird when you think about the like the business side of manufacturing computers and computer systems is like it all happens like a decade in advance almost. Like these manufacturing plants have to be started 5 years before they can be up and operational. And there's already all these promises made to all these companies of, yeah, sure, I can fulfill, this demand for said whatever. And it's just funny how that works out. Or I guess it's funny how it doesn't ever seem to work out for the consumer, at least.
It's kind of sad how we're stuck with the moving with the masses, right? We're going to go with the market trends, and we're going to go with the almighty dollar and the almighty investment dollars and the cash registers. What are they pulling in? If you got a good product, doesn't mean it's going to be a good thing and it's going to stick around.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to know actually, when we talk about what's driving the market trend or whatever, is it really the consumer that's driving the market trend? Because when we all talk to each other, again, we're living off in this sphere of computer nerds where we know a lot more than the average person. I would like to know if the average person what they actually think about AI. Like like do they feel like it's really enhancing their life? Do they care about all this that's going on? Do they even know how all of these updates are impacting them, or is it just they just go with the flow and whatever Windows and Microsoft or Apple hands them and just go with it? I'd really be interested to know, or if it's something that our uh, tycoon overlords are just saying you're going to be using AI now, so figure it out. And I'm not saying that I hate AI. I mean, I have found it extremely useful for certain things, but most of the time I just don't want it there. It's being annoying.
The people I've talked to don't understand what it is, but they understand the pocketbook impact. Like the data centers cost us more for our electricity to power our houses. Like that's just wrong. I think they should build the data centers where the resources are plentiful, not where the land is cheap. But that's just me.
But then they won't get the tax write-offs and whatnot for going into that location because they're going to create a lot of jobs. They're going to create a lot of jobs that anybody living there is probably not going to be qualified to get.
Yeah, they're gonna create two jobs for the two guys who have to monitor the system logs.
Yeah, that's the whole lie is, a data center is going to bring jobs. It's 60 to 80 people, and no disrespect to these people. I don't want to come across as denigrating at all. You're not coding, you're not engineering, you're just swapping hard drives and replacing broken systems and adding a few more racks when they come in. You're maintenance, you're not design. Like, I mean, comment below if anybody knows otherwise, because the most of the data center jobs are not high tech, high brain power jobs. They're just uh, they're crew.
I would get that there's probably no decision making. Like that level of job responsibility lies with someone who's probably not even in the same state as the data center, you know.
Or it's the AI that's in the data center telling them how to do their job.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, when something breaks and they're not quite sure how to fix it, they're probably just asking AI to figure out what to do.
For a
Dave,
while,
I need another 5 GPUs added to my Cortex.
And I
Feed me,
won't lie, I
Dave.
mean, that's that.
I mean, really, I'm an AI caretaker. What can I say? Yeah, there's your job title right there.
didn't we see this in Portal with GLaDOS?
Maybe.
I think more in Portal 2.
Yeah,
But
when you're
yeah,
running around and you got Wheatley helping you out, and
I
what an
think
epic
both
game that was.
GLaDOS and Wheatley are prime examples of two sides of the same coin.
It's a machine trying to end you. Endless tests. Can you survive the tests?
There will be
Well,
cake.
it's funny how many people have the cake as a lie as a thing. No, I got a the end credit song to Portal 2, right?
By heart.
I don't know if I
My
ever finished
daughter.
Portal 2.
So there's a song, it's I'm Still Alive. We were walking around the Christmas section in Walmart, and they were playing holiday music at that time, right? And they played that song over the speakers. My daughter tapped me on the shoulder, like, hey, listen, they're playing. I was like, wow, like, did the AI like take over and like taunting us now?
Uh,
So I wanted to bring up the vibe coding. So do you know what vibe coding is, Mike?
I don't know the official definition, but I gather it's something of just like throwing some ideas out there and letting the AI do the grunt work, isn't it?
sounds about
What do you
right.
think, Justin?
Yeah, and I think there's different levels of vibe coding too.
Mhm.
Me being in the college sphere, we say there's the business bro vibe coding, and then there is the computer science vibe coding. And they're two very different. The computer science guy at least knows, like, understands the basics. He may not be doing the grunt work, but when something goes wrong, I mean, he can at least give more precise instructions. The business bro version of vibe coding is, here's my idea for an app, go make it. And I mean, not to hate on business bros. I mean, if you don't know how to code and vibe coding's an option, then I mean, hey, more power to you. That was the whole point. Um, I think vibe coding in general is, don't take this the wrong way, but it's sad in the fact that we are no longer the creators. That's what I mean. It's not to hate on people who don't know how to code. It takes a long time, and sometimes that's not the way you're oriented. Now, if you're a computer science major and you're vibe coding, I have a different opinion for you, and that is you should not be vibe coding. Go do it yourself. You can use AI as a help, but don't just tell it what to do, because you've just signed yourself up and you are now beholden to Claude or Chat or you name it.
And that's what I think this year. So I'm gonna blend those two subjects. Um, so 2026, I think, is gonna be the year we figure out what AI is. Not not all the way, but we figure out how to start using AI. And so I think vibe coding is just this okay, just to break it down. Vibe coding is you sit down with an idea, you say, "Hey, ChatGPT, make a this. Make me a website, make me an app, make me a whatever." And then you go back and forth with it till it dials it in and you've got what you want. Okay, that's cool. Jackson, I love what you're saying there, where if you're an expert in coding, you can actually see the output, go in and fix it to do exactly what you want.
To a point.
Whereas if you don't have an understanding of how to code, you're not going to get the result you're looking for. So I think
Yeah,
this
and
year we're gonna start seeing the true vibe code come out, and it's not so much code, is you're using AI to achieve the objective, and you're doing it intelligently. We're trying to figure out how to put the structure behind that.
right. And I think the way I think of it is, for someone who doesn't know how to code, doesn't know anything, vibe coding is empowering. To someone who does know how to code or should know, as in, they're within that sphere and have the ability to learn relatively easily. Um, it's a crutch, and it's not a positive crutch. Um, if there ever were such a thing. So I feel like there's those two sides of the coin. If you don't know how to code, but hey, you have this idea, and maybe it's not that complicated, and something that vibe coding might be able to give you something that works totally fine with relatively little bugs, then sure, I mean, have at it. But if you are a creator, or what I'm trying to say is someone who codes, and this is what you do, you're giving up all of that creation to an AI that is unable to create, and rather it is able to just mimic what has already been done. And so, and what's really hard about that is, okay, say you run into something that the whatever AI model you're using doesn't quite know how to solve or how to fix, and it keeps getting it wrong. And maybe you've tried describing the issue, and maybe you've even tried like giving it ideas, and it can't do it. Okay, now you have to dive into the code and do it yourself. But if you vibe coded, the thousands of lines that came before that, you're going in it blind, and whatever fix you make is more than likely to be a band-aid to what is a heap of AI problem.
I would
So,
even add to that it's not just that aspect of it, it is also the aspect that it makes people lazier. They
it's true.
don't actively seek out the knowledge that they want. They don't actively try to learn to get better at something. The models that are out there right now, they give you the answer. Some of them will spit out how it comes to that answer, but most people that I have spoken to, if they're using it for like questions or to do things like that, they don't care about how it got to the answer. They just want the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So it
I don't want right answers. I want good answers.
And that's just like a highway straight to a bad product. I mean, you can say, okay, well, even though it works, I mean, it may work just fine, but you, if anything goes wrong, you are beholden to that model. So, like for example, I'm familiar with someone who uses Claude, and they are doing a vibe coding project. And I'll just tell you this quick story. Um, he's in his 60s. He had an entire career doing VLSI for Broadcom, and he's kind of like in his retirement right now. And he's had this idea for an app for several years, and it's been a long time since he's done all of like this coding, and he's coding it in Swift. He's making an app for iPhone and Android. Yeah, all the work. So instead of going and learning those languages, which I don't blame him for, he's 60 years old and he doesn't really care to learn this new language just to make an app. That was kind of a fun idea. Um, Instead, he was like, well, he worked on it for 5 years and kept running into these issues, and he goes, all right, well, let me try Claude. I've heard about it. It's I think it's like $100 subscription a month, um, or something like that. And he's shown me its capabilities. I will say Claude is impressive. Of all of the AI models, of all the coding models I have seen, Claude is very impressive. And is probably the best option if you are gonna go vibe coding route. Um,
There's some others.
uh, yeah, you might know of others. I've steered clear of it also because I don't have that much money to spend on something that is probably detrimental to my career. So
Well, that's the hope that I want to give you. Keep going with your story. There is
yeah,
hope in this.
well, when I say detrimental to my career, I mean it's going to harm me as an individual. I don't
No,
think computer software programmers are going anywhere anytime soon. Um, but anyway, long story short, now Claude was able to recreate all the work that he had done for the past like 5 years, I think is what he told me, in like a day. And it did it all, boom, got everything up and running, and he's like, okay, cool. And now, now he's beholden to Claude. And for him, he's okay with that. He's like, you know what, I'm old and I just want to get this working, and I don't really care. But I mean, I've talked to him extensively about this, and he goes, yeah, he's like, if something goes really wrong and I don't have access to Claude, like it's a lost cause, because um, I don't know, and I'm not going to care to go and read through the code base and try and figure it all out. Like, you know, and he doesn't know. Now he knows enough to, whenever Claude gives him something, he will ask, okay, show me the logs. Okay, what'd you do here? How'd you do that? Okay, I don't like the way you did that. Do it this way instead. He's able to do that because he has that background. He understands how programming is meant to be done. And so for him, it is beneficial. It's also acting as a crutch. Like it's kind of this weird middle ground, and it's a give and a take. Now for him, he's gaining a lot more than what he's probably giving away at this point. So it's a cautionary tale, and it's also a success story. I don't really know what to call it, but
bit of both.
but yeah, but that's been my experience, and what I've seen the experience of others is it absolutely is a crutch, for those who ought to know what they're doing.
So here's the hope I'm going to give you. We need to teach people how to vibe code. We need to teach people the skills. If it's just, hey, go do this, and you wave your arm and say, go make it happen, you really do earn the output of that, which is going to be garbage. But if you know how to code, if you know how to read code, you can see the problems, you know how to ask the challenging questions to the AI, you can do it back and forth. And yes, you can be wildly faster. But the hope is, if you're good at what you're doing, you will be in charge of the AI. If you're not good at what you're doing, AI is going to have something to tell you. It's just, I won't say that AI will be in charge of you, but if you don't show your mastery above it, it will do what it wants. You won't know how to fix it, and it's not going to be the product at the end. So the good coders will absolutely have jobs in the future.
Yeah,
What I think this
absolutely.
means, and we'll segue to this here in a little bit with Homelab, it makes entry that much easier for somebody learning to code. So like the ESP boards, you can say, hey, tell me what to do. Hey, this is my result. Hey, this is happening. And it'll give you feedback of what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and how to do things differently. So like NeoPixels, I just went for it. Just, okay, let's plug it in. I'm going to plug it in stupid. And so I started doing it. It's okay. So it does this. Here's my effect. And it says, oh, that's because blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of cool. The whole string of lights was just flickering on and off randomly. It's like, hey, it's just flickering. What gives? It came back and said, okay, check this. It gave 5 things. One of them was right. I didn't link the grounds. I had the power supply ground separate from the USB ground. I linked the grounds, stopped the flicker. So I knew that, but the code kind of threw out 5 different ideas, and only because I know what I'm doing did I have a clue what the problem actually was in stopping the flicker.
Yeah, and I like that. I mean, that's how I use AI. I mean, I do use AI almost every day, but it's usually in that kind of debugging and troubleshooting step rather than the creation.
Yes.
Because I every time I've tried to use and I know again I don't pay for any really premium models. I do have a premium version of ChatGPT to use their whatever models they have. I don't do a lot of experimentation, so other people would probably know better than me as to, which model does it best, which version and all of that. But from my experience, whenever I try and ask, okay, I want to do this, like do it, or either show me how to do it, it does struggle and it has a hard time. And that's where my knowledge has to come in and to pick up the pieces. There have even been times where I've been working on a coding project and I'm like, okay, I want to do this thing. I'm using this state machine. It's kind of complicated to carry this information between states. I don't want to do, I started solving the problem my way, and I could easily, very quickly tell, I was like, okay, this is turning into a lot of code that's messy and it's not working out right. And so I asked Chat, I said, Chat, okay, here's a snippet of what I've done. Don't give Chat all your code because it's just going to feed it back into itself and steal all your code. I gave it a little snippet and said, okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Not only that, but did you hear about the lawsuit with, is it New York Times, Artie? New York Post?
New York
Where they get a
Times,
copy of
and
everything?
I actually came across another one today that is in that vein. It's small tangent. A bunch of copyright holders are suing NVIDIA for that there are internal documents that were discovered where they are reaching out to a pirate source of books asking to get copies of them. so they can train an AI on it. But yes, it was New York Times.
Yeah, did you hear about that one, Jackson? Mike?
I didn't.
So they sued saying that AI is plagiarizing their work. Back and forth, back and forth. Judge finally said, "You know what? The only way to find out is for them to have full discovery on everything that's ever been typed into OpenAI's ChatGPT."
No, okay, wait, hold on. Who is they to have a full discovery? As in the courts?
New York Times. They get a copy of everything. Everything.
Because of this case.
Yeah.
Did that actually go into effect?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I didn't hear about this at all. That's crazy.
It's one of those somebody who doesn't understand the tech and the consequence made a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
yeah.
get that. It's so that New York Times could prove whether or not their source material had been used.
Yep.
But it gave them access to everybody's.
And OpenAI fought it as
Mm.
hard as they possibly could because their system wasn't designed to give that data to anybody. It was purposely a closed box. So I got a court order, and now they got to redevelop the system.
Yeah.
When was that? Like 6 months, 8 months ago already?
Something like that.
That's the thing. I've always been very cautious about what I put into AI. Like, I think they give off this idea of like, oh yeah, we're private. You know, your conversations are between you and the AI, but you don't think of it like that at all. Think of it as like you were posting it on a public notice board of here's a question and chat will answer it. But because it's just still new territory, I don't think private AI has existed yet. Unless it
Signal
actually is a private AI.
Signal just came out with one, or the creator of Signal.
We hope, right? Until a court tells you it's not.
Right?
And well, that also goes going back to, you know, putting code into AI models. I'll talk about this more when we talk about Homelabs. Same goes for a lot of these cloud code tools, namely GitHub is one of them. There was a whole big debacle about GitHub that was using the user's code to train Microsoft's AI. And now it's plainly stated there that they will be using your code to train their AI. So anyway, well, I have something to talk about that when we get to Homelabs. But I'll wrap this up quickly. When I was trying to do my creation, gave it some code, say, hey, this is the way I'm currently doing it. I know like this, there's no way this is the right way to do it. Like it's so ugly. I said, give me some suggestions how to fix it. And it gave me a suggestion. It seemed out of my scope, too far to the point. I was like, okay, wait, explain, how does this work? And it wasn't going to mesh well with my code in the sense that it literally felt like someone else was coming in and shoving their version of something into my code. And I didn't want that because for this project, you know, mainly I was doing this project so I could learn how to code better. But then after that point, it feels like I no longer have control over the code base. And it's like, okay, this piece, it's a black box. And I think from a developer standpoint, that's dangerous. Especially when you think about if you have a company that is offering you a service or an app or whatever, and if something goes wrong or there's a security breach, and if it's a black box to the developer, then who's going to fix it? You know, so I think it's dangerous when you if you're a developer to hand over your livelihood basically to an AI and say, okay, do this for me, and then you know you're beholden to it.
Mike, what's your thoughts?
I don't know. There's like parts of me that I could kind of see, I can equate it to like, you know, you get into a software company where you have a single project and it's developed by a team of people anyway. it's led by a project manager. Maybe he's the guy that has the vision of what the project should be, but he doesn't actually write the code. He lets, the people under him write the code. And one of the things I was thinking of is that, and it sounds like that you do this and, ask the question, let the AI give you a response, check and verify it. Just like with anything else that we're asking AI, check and verify it. I mean, we don't want, bad references for our legal brief or anything like that getting in there. Well, it's the same thing with our code, is that we don't want something that's not going to work or doesn't make sense. I mean, it may work, but maybe in the bigger picture, it's not something that's going to be compatible in the long run. So, but I can see that could happen even with just humans too, that, if you contract out and say, I need you to write this piece of the software, or you guys have a utility, we'd like to integrate it into our software. That doesn't necessarily mean you get full disclosure, because it may be a closed source thing. They may have their own proprietary algorithms and methods of how this software works. You're just using an API to, put information in, and black box does its thing and spits information out. And it's no different than we have now, where we've seen vulnerabilities come out. It's not directly because of the operating system or the software, but it's like a piece of something else that it uses in its supply chain that wasn't written well or got compromised or whatever. And so there has to be a patch or fix for that comes from whoever develops that piece. And so in some ways, like, I can see, like, it's kind of not different than some of the issues that we already face in that sense. The difference is that we don't know who controls the AI. I mean, is somebody going to at some point infect the AI for, and all of a sudden now AI is spitting out code that makes anybody that uses a network driver vulnerable to some kind of an attack, or something like that. I don't know. I hope not. I would hope that we can put the guardrails on AI to make sure that things like that don't happen, but only time will tell.
I got to jump in on that. You said that, provide patches and updates. So Microsoft is using more AI to do more coding, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there's more updates that are failing majestically. Like not just failing, like, now I can't turn off my laptop kind of failure.
So, yeah, here's the thing, because I've been working on a project. I've been using AI pretty extensively to help me debug and troubleshoot some scripts that I've been writing. And it's kind of like the conversations sometimes just go in circles a little bit, because just as soon as we hammer out a certain bug that was happening, and I convinced the AI, like, okay, we're going to lock in this change and it's got to run like this, because I have an understanding of the environment I'm running in. And the AI, it knows what the web knows about running in that environment. But that's the other thing, is that the AI, I don't think, has the real world experience to test its own code. Like, it can throw out a solution, but it's not necessarily a tested solution. It's just taking somebody else's way, found it on the web. Oh, this guy says that if you write this, then this will work and it'll do the job. But it's never actually tested it to run it and see what the result is. And so there was an incident recently where AI slipped back into trying to operate in a certain mode that we had already agreed that, like, that's not the mode to run in for this particular command. It doesn't run in that mode, and you don't get the right results. And so I had to go back and tell, like, AI, come on, we've been over this. You can't use that command in just that way. You have to use it in this way. And there's so many times where it's like the response to the AI is, oh yes, you're absolutely right. Like, I'll call it out on things. Oh yes, you're absolutely, that's a good cat. Like, see, you don't really know what you're doing until I tell you whether you're right or wrong. And so to me, it's that constant vigilance of check and verify to make sure that is that really makes sense, and is it going to run the right way? Is it give you the result that you really want? You know, AI, to me, the AI has been really good for coming up with, you know, multiple lines of code. I don't type so fast. AI can type code a lot faster than I can. I don't mind just being able to hit copy and paste, but I'm still going to look at it and go, now, does that make sense? Is that going to fit in? Yeah. Okay. All right. We can probably do that. I'm okay with doing that. Let's give it a go. Let's see what it does. And then I'm the one correcting it. I'm either going to go into the code manually and just say, oh, it missed something. I just need to fix this right here. Or I will go adjust the prompt and say, okay, we need to adjust. We need to make it more like this or like that or whatever.
So don't vibe code what you can't code yourself.
That's exactly right. Like, I think there's a lot of what Jackson said that I worry about these people that are, and even today we look at in the hacking industry of people who are script kiddies. We have that term script kiddie because all they do is they go find a script and someone says, hey, this script does this. Ooh, I'm going to download it. I'm going to put on someone's computer. I'm going to run it. Well, how does it work? I don't know. I just know that if I run it, then I'm going to get this result. And if it breaks, I won't know how to fix it. And that's what a lot of these people are going to be. They're going to probably be very creative people with some great ideas, but they'll have no clue how to fix it when it doesn't go the way they want it to. It might go the way they want to for a time, but eventually the project's going to get so big that something's going to go wrong, and they're going to need to get a professional to say, hey, help me fix this. I don't know where it's broken.
Whenever I try to render the program, it spits out a 5 petabyte large file. What's going on?
Filled my hard drive.
Filled my hard drive and then erased it.
What'd you ask it to do? I said, start over. Well, it started over.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, let's jump over to Homelabs, because I think that's a great segue point. If you're vibe coding, and I kind of like that rule. If you can't code it yourself, don't vibe code it. Or, push that limit. So like imposter syndrome kind of thing. Yeah, I could do that. But 90% or 80%, you're waiting for that to bridge out there. Use that to teach you some. Verify it. Oh my gosh, verify. Because you don't learn from AI. It will teach you wrong. It's confidently wrong. It will take you down dark paths and not tell you anything until, oh, yeah, of course that didn't work. Silly me. I've been leading you down the wrong path this whole time.
I mean, it's never actually said that, but it
I got to recode
like
it.
I said, it's so surprising where it says, oh, you're absolutely right. We need to you're right. That is your fix. And the other thing too is that in terms of debugging, I find myself more and more now that I don't just throw up the logs and say what went wrong. I mean, sometimes I do, because if it's something I'm not even remotely familiar with, then yeah, I'll just, here's the log, like what went wrong. I can't sift through all this, and it'll tell me. But there's a lot of times recently I found that it's like I get the error and I've already thought about it and I already have an idea of what might have gone wrong. And I'm using the AI more to check my own knowledge. Like, I think it's this. What do you think? Am I right? And there's a lot of times where it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And then it'll go into the detail. Here's why. I suspect it's a thing where it's a timing issue and I'm not sure. And then AI finds like, oh yeah, right here, we're doing this before we do that.
It's going to be an interesting time.
Before we get into Homelabs, I have a simile to make with this. Using AI honestly reminds me of my time using Duolingo, because it will be confidently correct in what it's saying, but there's absolutely no reason that you would be asking a 5-year-old why their 3-year-old brother is a doctor. It's yeah, yeah. Never mind.
You're not using your imagination right. That's all I gotta say.
It's not a matter of imagination. If you go through it and play around on that tool, you'll see that it gives you the most inane things that you are to learn and repeat, and it feels like a lot of the AI large language models will do the same thing, unless you get a stick and start whacking it a few times, saying no, that's not what I was asking.
Yep. Well, speaking of whacking things with sticks, Homelabs.
That might be the best description of a home lab I've ever heard.
Then you whack with the stick.
You whack it with a stick until it works.
Oh,
Oh man.
Homelab is one of the it's one of those terms that I picked up like when it was first coming out, and it's like, that doesn't make sense. It's not a lab. Wait. Yeah, it is. Wait a minute. Because you're testing, you're playing, you're sandboxing, you're doing things. You inflict your project on your family. Like, they didn't want to enjoy this video server that now requires 17 steps to get it connected and work. They just want Netflix, right? Like, no, now I gotta connect and two-factor over here, type this in and do these things. We love it. We geek out on that stuff, right? But, my wife, uh, uh not talking bad about her, but she doesn't have the enjoyment of the journey that I do. She just wants it to work. So I have a private little section that's mine, and I use that and play with that. It's more broken than it's fixed, but I think that's the way home labs are supposed to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think what's cool about a home lab is every time you burn it down and start it over, it gets better because but it's never actually there because then it wouldn't be a home lab anymore. Because yeah,
Right?
you start off and you don't know what the heck you're doing. You install some things and you try and debug whatever's going wrong. You make some workaround that if you had known better before, you wouldn't have never done in the first place. You know, then who knows? A month later, you're like, actually, I need to do something entirely different. Burn it down, start over. It's a constant cycle, and I've done that enough in recent months where I'm at a point now where I'm like, okay, I really want to avoid burning this down because it is working pretty well.
Please don't break. Please don't break. Please.
And
Oh,
I keep working on it every day. I'm like doing something else. I'm like, oh, this just means I'm like one day closer to having to redo all of this. So yeah, but I mean, home labs are absolutely. I think anyone who knows anything should do it. It's absolutely. I've loved doing it. I started off
how'd you
totally out of
start?
my.
How'd you
So
start?
okay,
What is a home lab?
I I th-
Because I
what
think
I
it means
started
different
with,
things to different people.
and I think that's totally valid too. I started wanting a file server for my apartment. I live in a shared apartment. Um, I'm in college, so I was like, okay, I can't do anything crazy. So I went out, and BYU has like a tech surplus. I went out and they had a little desktop for $40. I said, I'll take it. So I got that and I threw a couple of hard drives in there, and it was again because I was under the guise of it being a home lab. I didn't really care. It was on Windows 10, couldn't upgrade to Windows 11. I was like, whatever. I already started installing stuff on this. I don't want to deal with like tearing it down. And I got my file server up and running. I was like, oh sweet. And then later I realized like, oh, I kind of want to run like Pi-hole on it. I've heard about this thing called Pi-hole that will do all this ad blocking and I can do all these other cool networking things for my apartment. And so then I started trying to set up Pi-hole and ended up having to make a hypervisor virtual machine, and I installed Ubuntu and then put Pi-hole on it, and I was like, okay, this is starting to become more broken than it is working. So it didn't take long. The fact that it had Windows on it, I think, was already more broken than fixed. So then I was like, all right, whatever, I'll burn it down. And I spent a good amount of time with it not doing anything because I was unsure and I was like, okay, I've heard about. I think I want to do virtualization because I feel like I have other ideas and I have things I want to do. I was like, but I also just kind of need something up and running that's going to work. So I settled on. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'm going to figure out how to do it, and I settled on using XCPNG, which is a mostly open source um, virtualization software. So I installed that, and I installed it like 4 times because I messed something up, and I was like, I'm just gonna start over. So I mean that's how it goes. But now I've got XCPNG up and running, and I think I have 4 or 5 virtual machines running. I've got one that's running. I'll give you my stack. I've got one that's running TrueNAS, and I'll talk more on that. It's a bad idea, but it's working. So I, I'm not going to burn it down yet. I've got a VM running TrueNAS. I have a VM running. I have several that are running Ubuntu server. One of them is dedicated to running Pi-hole. I have 2 others that are running. One of them's hosting a couple of Minecraft servers. I've got friends and family that like to play Minecraft, and I've got another one that is running a private Git server. And I have another one that's running a web hosting service that is for development stuff that I'm doing. So, and I have it all. What ties it together, this is what makes my home lab my favorite thing ever, is I'm using Tailscale to remotely access some things. And that is just has been the dream. I've got private clouds, I've got private Git, I've got my own web development platform, and it is just I've loved every second of it. I've also hated every second of developing it, but it's that love-hate relationship.
So it's a system where you can fail up, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Every mistake that causes a system to fail, you learn something. It's like learning how to play chess. Every time you lose a game, you learn something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every time you fall off your bike, you learn how to ride it better, right? So,
Sometimes
that's
what
not
you
true.
learn is how to make more colorful swears.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. But if I had to give advice to anybody who is thinking or they're working on a home lab and they're like, okay, I'm not sure what to do, and if you're like me and you just want a few services up and running, I absolutely would recommend using XCPNG if you know enough to be dangerous. Definitely. If you don't know enough to be dangerous, there is a great alternative. Well, it's not necessarily an alternative, but it's a great solution to most of the things I imagine you'd be trying to do, which is TrueNAS. And I have been playing around with that a lot, and it's pretty impressive how good that open source software is. And TrueNAS is primarily focused around doing, again, it's in the name, NAS, network attached storage. However, they have been opening up the software to adding on applications like they support Pi-hole, they support Jellyfin, which is like a video and movie hosting service. It supports image. It supports just about anything. It supports Gitea or Gitea. I don't know. Gitea? I don't know. I don't know how people say it, but that's the private Git service. So TrueNAS is a great alternative if you're like, okay, I don't really want to mess around with virtualization, but I do want some of that kind of freedom that it gives. And I would definitely recommend doing that.
There's so many options nowadays in the tech stack that you can choose. So I think home lab, we could probably say, is you're doing more than just what's on your laptop or your computer. You're reaching out to another device and you're trying to interact with it so it provides a service, it provides a function. That I think is home lab. And we're not talking like doorbells and light switches. We're talking like the master control program behind doorbells and light switches. So if then cause and effect, that's home lab.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing with the engine to see what it can do. I was doing that stuff 35 years ago. I was a teenager and I got one of those Radio Shack. Like, you remember those? It's a little home automation box, plugs into
Oh,
your TV.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
X10
remember those.
protocol.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I
You could
never played
program
with
your
those, but
house.
I remember. Yeah, I remember those were a thing. Yeah.
They were the rich person thing because, oh my goodness.
Mhm.
But I got one at a garage sale. Person couldn't figure out how to make it work, and it's just annoyed them, so they just gave it to me for $10,
Nice.
and I took it apart.
Sometimes that's how you figure it out, so there
It
you
it
go.
really was, 'cause it was a control board. It had a TV tuner or TV broadcast, like all video game systems in the day. You'd watch it on your TV, and you program it. It was really cool, but, you gotta tinker with it, right? I didn't have any of the devices, so it was useless to me when I was 14 years old when I got the thing. There's no way I could afford any of the remotes, so let's see how it works. And there was a lot of similarities between that and the VCRs I took apart, and and I think I even took apart our Nintendo just to see what was inside that. I took apart our Atari just to see how it worked, and I love the fact that I was able to get most of them put back together. May that VCR rest in peace. But HomeLab is connecting all those things together to achieve a function, a design, a thing. You're not trying to build a server for the masses. You're trying to build a server for yourself to do a thing. Mike, how's your home lab? How's that?
My home
Look,
lab's in various stages at different points. I mean, we've got just with our situation at home, way things are going with people living with us right now until they find another place to live. Um, it's not as big as I could have it right now. But that said, I would say mine started probably back when, I mean, I was always hacking on the Commodore 64, learning how to program and everything, but we never really hooked up, and I never really got into like, you know, I mean, once the world of Windows and Mac OS came in, I became kind of just a computer user at that point. I wasn't programming as much. I went in for graphic design and I just started using, Adobe products on a Mac as much as I could and got good at that and graduated with an associate's degree. And it was while I was working from home remotely from my last job that my mother-in-law had uh, aged out, replaced a computer or something. Do you want this computer? And it was a pretty big desktop computer system. She was using it to do transcription work for medical clinics and things like that. And so it had a fairly decent sized hard drive. I don't remember what the capacity was at the time, but a fairly decent sized hard drive and seemed to be a fairly powerful machine. For what it was, I think now looking back, it was probably not more than maybe a Pentium 3 or 4, something like that. I don't know. But
Back when they gave cool names to processors.
yeah, so I took it and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Because I mean, I don't use, at the time, I was not into the Windows environment. I was using mostly Mac stuff and I didn't really have anything Windows related that I needed to run on it. And I was just like, it's just an extra computer. I'm like, man, I've always heard about like this Linux stuff. I should get into that and start trying it out. And so I went and looked it up on the web and it's like, yeah, hey, you download this, ISO image and you can burn it onto a CD and install it. And I'm just like, well, that's pretty cool, So I tried it out and I installed Ubuntu. I think it was the time 8 was what was out. So 2008, and it was Ubuntu 8. And before I knew it, there it was. Like I had this computer running and it's running an operating system. And then I can just freely install software that runs on it and do stuff with it. And I started learning how to do different things. And, like, what do you do with that? You can put a web server on. Well, that became very useful to me to put a web server on it because at the time I was doing a lot of graphic design work related to building web pages and everything. So instead of having to upload to somebody else's server in the cloud, before we called it the cloud, I was able to just test locally and try things out, perfect it. And then once I knew everything was working the way I wanted to, then I would upload it to the web host provider and make it go live at that point. And so now my home lab has always been some kind of tinkering of installing something so I can have like what Jackson has. I need like some kind of a service. So I set up some extra computer that I've always got. And to me, my home lab has always been built on basically other people's junk. They get, they've used up a computer. They're like, I've upgraded. I don't need this anymore. Hey, do you want it? Sure, I'll take it. And so, yeah, I mean, the technology is not current, but with the kinds of things that I'm doing, I don't need it to be current. I don't need it to be, super secure production level data center type stuff. It just needs to be able to run the couple things that I'm installing on it. And so I've gone through laptops that at first, 512 kilobytes of RAM, now we're a gigabyte of RAM. And that seemed pretty cool when I got some of those. And then I was getting up to 2 gigabytes of RAM and, and
That's some hot stuff there.
that's
I'll
hot
say,
stuff
I'll say,
now. And it's like, now I'm looking back at those 1 gigabyte, modules. I'm just like, man, those are actually worth something now, but
that's why I say before someone gives me their junk, I'm like, well, does it come with the RAM?
Yeah,
I'm like, I'll take
right.
it. I don't care what it is. Just send it my way.
And there's a lot of things that just become parts computers that I've just salvaged the stuff out of it because I needed to make something else work. And so now it's gotten to the point where, I've got a little rack. I've been able to put my Dream Machine into it. I did actually finally buy something relatively new. I bought a little, one of those little Dell micro PCs, small form factor, and came with 16 gigabytes of RAM on it. It's a i7, I think. And so I've got a PBX running on that for my home phone system because we don't use our landline all that much. And we wanted to dump our carrier so we could go to fiber instead. And so we want to just make sure that the kids have some way to reach us if they need to be able to pick up a phone and call us up if they need to, So that's
They need
running.
to learn a command line to do that, right?
No, they do not. It's just they pick up
I forgot
the
the syntax. I
they
can't.
pick up the VTech cordless handset, which is wired in, and it all works. There's nothing complicated about it. It works, and it's fun to play with and fun to learn. So there you go. I do have a computer running Jellyfin. Jackson mentioned that earlier. It's running Jellyfin. I've got a couple of my favorite 80s cartoons, ripped down to that and everything. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I did Jellyfin and Plex, and I pointed them to the same source
Together?
folders. Yes.
Did that work?
Just to see. I'll give it an 85% yes. It's got some glitches, but as long as you sort it out right, where they're not saving their database to the same folders, you're good.
Right.
Because it's just the source files it's reading,
Mm-hmm.
and it compiles its own thumbnails and everything off somewhere else. Then it works. But it's super cool because if you want a different experience, you do one or the other. And then if one updates to some stupid update that doesn't work, you just use the other system. That's how I actually got my family to accept Plex and Jellyfin. Is I had to have them both and show them both and say, hey, this is where you get the DVDs that I ripped into the system.
Yeah.
It's like, well, can't I just play the DVD? It's like, no, we don't have a DVD player anymore.
I did get another computer that I inherited from a neighbor friend that I've been helping him out with some stuff. And he's just like, hey, I got this as extra and I don't need it anymore. And it's yours if you want it. I'm like, yes, because it's got the RAM in it, lots of it. And couple decent sized hard drives, and I just got to figure out where to set it up and what to do with it. Might not be until we free up some space in the house later on, but yeah, I mean, it's totally fun. And I will say this, Linux, open source, all that stuff really goes a long way to teaching and helping people learn stuff. Because Jackson, you said when people don't know, where do I start? My answer is just jump in and do it. Grab an old piece of hardware, figure out what's going to run on it, find something to put on it, and just do it. Because sometimes the best way to learn is to learn to break it and then fix it and then burn it down and fix it again. And that's how I've learned everything Linux. I must have had probably what, see, 2008, I said, is when I installed Ubuntu.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so yeah, it'd be about 15 years, maybe not quite 15 years of actual experience in using Linux before I took my first formal Linux class, which I did for my online degree, and everything. And yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I already knew, and there was a stuff
But
that
you
I
get
learned.
context.
But I knew exactly, like, oh, this is handy, this is really neat stuff that I can use, this is, oh, so that's how they do that, and everything. But is very helpful to already have that hands-on experience. And Linux and open source and old hardware is exactly the right kind of stuff for getting that hands-on experience. Just
Yep.
do it. Just do
Yep.
it. Break it. Who cares? Burn it down, start over
Jackson,
again.
What's that?
Exactly. Jackson, you were saying XGP is the flavor of choice for hypervisors. If we go back about 4 or 5 years, I would disagree with you.
And I think you'd be right in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a company. So Homelabs got kind of burned by VMware.
Yes,
That was the
right.
tool of choice. And then all of a sudden, it got purchased by a company we can't really say, Broadcom. It was purchased, and they said, we're not going to support this free version anymore. People need to pay for it because it's worth something. And so all of us Homelab runners, we're not using that. We're not gaining experience. So when we go and learn and play and dabble and find the ins and outs, now we're going to actually deploy that instead of the quote professional tools. They burned themselves so hard. They had the number one product, and now they don't. Like, they do, but it definitely doesn't have the adoption it has. XGP, Proxmox, there's a couple others. They're the ones that are taken up because they gave up the market. They gave up us home users, our home labs. They gave it up,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I love about the open source community. We're all in it together. We're playing, we're having fun, we're coding. It's a fantastic time. Much like these podcasts. YouTube has let all of us share our thoughts and our opinions. It's great. But I hate to say it, guys. I think we've hit the end of our time. What do you think, Artie?
I think that's a yes.
Yeah, we're probably about there.
We'll have to reboot the doc, his Docker session there.
I am tired and my brain is soup.
Well, in that case, we'll let you get some sleep and pour yourself into bed. So, well, until next time, I'm John.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jackson.
Oyasumi nasai.
And for those of you who don't have a translator, Artie says, smoke them if you got them.
That is very bad translation. That's good night.
Have a good night, everybody.